Welcome to Tales from the Trenches Tuesdays. Today, it is my honor to have T. Clay Buck on with us.
Here's a story of a fundraiser who was launching his very own web show. Each episode is very short due to edits, so it can really flow. Here's a story of a podcast guest star who was busy raising money of their own. They were each great in their own way, fundraising in its own. Till the one day when Jack asked a guest to join him, and they knew it was much more than a jest, that these guests must somehow form a resource. That's the way they all became the podcast guests. The podcast guests. The podcast guests. That's the way they became the podcast guests.
T. Clay Buck has been in fundraising for over 30 years. Clay, the T is silent, held just about every position in fundraising, from development assistant to grant writer to chief development officer. He started his own individual giving and fundraising communications consulting firm in 2018. He's the creator of the Fundraiser's Planner and co-host of the #1 fundraising podcast, Fundraising is Funny. Clay makes his home in Las Vegas, Nevada, where he teaches strategic planning and fundraising at UNLV, and is owned by two poorly trained golden retrievers who've mastered the art of the ask, especially at dinner time. So welcome, Clay.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I always found that my best canvases are actually ones where I never actually ask for the gift. You inspire someone, and then they turn around and say, well, so what do you need to make that happen? So tell me about one of your best canvases that you were on.
Is canvas a Canadian way of saying solicitation?
It's just in my world, every time I hear the word solicitation, I think of hookers. So...
Yep, I can't disagree.
So we use Canvas instead.
Don't say that to people that live in Vegas, because, right. Anyway, I hugely unpopular opinion. My area of expertise is really in individual giving at the mid and the low range. Right. I love the $250 donor. Doesn't mean I haven't been a major gifts person. Doesn't mean I haven't done it. I've done a lot of major gifts. I'm just better at the low and the mid range. I enjoy it more. So that said, why do I say that? I lay out that caveat in a way of saying, yes, I have done a significant amount of major gifts, but if you look at someone who has spent their entire career in major mega gift solicitation, I don't have that same level of experience, but I do have significant experience. Very, very rarely have I ever had to position an ask. So in most of my engagements with donors, most of the time, because of the background that we've built, the relationship, I brought information to them. By the time we get through that whole cultivation phase, they know what we're here for. They know what's coming, and more often than not, they self-identify and say, we'd like to support this campaign at this level, which then does give me the opening right to, we were really kind of hoping for this, right? And it becomes more of a finding the right comfortable amount than it is about a solicitation or an ask for a specific amount. There's one couple that I worked with for many, many years as donors who I just loved them, right? Every time I would reach out to them and invite them for coffee, a get-together, something, more often than not, they would say, Clay, we're happy to get together with you. We'd love to, but we want to get together to talk with you. Like, we don't need to go into all this stuff. If you're having coffee with us to ask us for our gift, we'll just go ahead and take care of that. If you're having coffee with us or a dinner with us, just to sit and talk about humans and the things that we care about, then let's do it. And every single time they would pick up the bill. And every single time I would say, no, that's on us. And they go, Clay, no, we're not supporting your organization so that you can then turn around and pay for our dinner. And I use that example, and honestly, I worked at that organization over a decade ago, and I'm still in touch with these people periodically. We're still in the same community.
Sure.
I use that example so much of it's such the ideal relationship because these were people that really believed in what we were doing. They understood what my role was. They understood, like, there was so much clarity on all of our relationships around that we had such honesty and transparency. To me, that is such the ideal relationship. It's not usual. It's not always the norm, but for me, it laid out kind of the model, the dream, the ideal, right?
Yeah. All right, so let's flip it then. We've all been on some asks or solicitations that it didn't go so well, that went off the rails. So tell me about one of those.
Oh boy. There are so many. Well, there was the time, it's not specifically a major gift situation. There was the time that I was doing an email campaign, a renewal campaign to a very small group of mid-level donors. So these were donors between 1,000 and 9,000, right? So average probably about $2,500, $5,000 donors, which at this organization, that was kind of our mid-range. And it was an email, and it was a renewal email, and it was coming after a series of cultivations. It was also coming on the renewal of their gift time. And I had the list all pulled, and I was building the email, and I kept sending the test email because I wanted to see how it would look and make sure that everything was functioning correctly and the fields were all merging correctly. And I tested that email 17 times and hit the send, not the test button. I sent that email to that list of mid-level donors 17 times.
Wow.
Oops.
Yeah.
I had one complaint. A physician who was like 3 years lapsed, honestly, but had given his first gift had been a decent level gift. And he wrote back and said, "This is not why I give. This is offensive. I should not get this email 17 times. Take me off your list. Never contact me again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And I'm going, turns out his first gift had been very transactional in nature. He only gave the gift at a special time when a board member it was one of those, you give to my organization and I'll give to yours.
Right.
This guy was not interested in being an ongoing supporter. That email was one of the best performing emails we ever had. And I had that one complaint that I remember verbatim to this day. And I had about 8 people on this list. It's like a list of, 200 people, 150 people. And I had 8 people who respond and go, "Oh God, I've done this too. Is that not the most embarrassing thing? You must feel terrible about," And they're like, "I went ahead and renewed. I made it online. Like,
Sure.
We've lived that." Again, we're all humans. And this nature of philanthropy and giving and all of this is it's a part of being who we are. So let's all maybe relax just a little bit and recognize that we all make mistakes. Donors are going to understand. And if they don't, then maybe they're not the right donors. Everybody messes up. It's okay, right?
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting, the fundraising world it's a challenging world to be a staff member in the fundraising world in this day.
Sure.
So I don't know about you, but I get calls to go for coffee or an adult beverage every now and then to someone who says, "Oh, I've been in the," as I call it, the real world, and I'm thinking about joining the nonprofit world. And so what advice would you give those folks if they were looking to make that jump? And even more so, if you were hiring a fundraiser today, what kind of traits would you be looking for?
A couple of different questions there. The first is, more often than not, and part of it is because of my teaching at the university, most of the calls that I get are, "I would like to start a nonprofit. Can I pick your brain on how to do it?" And my immediate response is, before we have that conversation, do your research and dig into how many organizations in this community are already doing the same thing and really evaluate your reasonings. More often than not, that I find that people that want to start a nonprofit with all good intent, really they're running their own business and they want to turn it into a nonprofit as a revenue generator. They really don't want what it means to involve people in their mission by fundraising. They want people to give money and go away. That's not what we do here. So That's my first advice. Learn who else in the community is doing what you're doing, do your research, and really determine the need, right? In the United States, we have 1.9 million nonprofits, which actually when you crunch that number down, it's less than 1 million that have, high level, like there's a whole hundreds of thousands that aren't active, that don't file, right? All of that. So the universe isn't really 1.9 million. But
in Canada, it's only 90,000.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're 10 times the size of it.
That's true. That is true.
But even if that was true, then you would say that should be 900,000.
Right. Your question about fundraiser experience, quality, etc., is really poignant, because one of the biggest things that we are facing as a sector, and I think it's true in Canada as well, is the number of fundraisers that are citing that they're burnt out, they're leaving the profession, they want out, they want to change jobs, they want to change vocations, careers, etc. So we have a lot of people that are leaving. We have a lot of really seasoned professionals who are retiring, moving into other things, and we don't have a strong bench of income. So we do not yet have, even though now we have degrees and training programs and all that, we do not have a strong bench of incoming fundraisers. It's also, you're going to graduate college with your student loans, and you're going to take a nonprofit job versus a for-profit job. Like, the salaries haven't caught up. Like, there's a whole lot of things that are contributing to, we just don't have this bench. So we are having to recruit from other professions. And I am a little different than most people, because most people will say they want a salesperson, somebody that can close, somebody that understands relationships. All of those are good qualities. I want somebody who knows how to run systems. I want somebody that knows that has familiarity with running data. I want somebody that understands how to be goal-focused and oriented. It is my personal bias. I love hiring theater majors, honestly, because a theater major has studied, and other degrees are very similar, right? So I'm looking for people with degrees or with experience that have multiple backgrounds. And I'm saying it in love and a little bit of jest, but it's also a little bit of true, because a theater major has taken history, they've taken writing, they've taken playwriting, they've taken shop and had to learn how to measure. And right, so they've had this whole variety of different experiences that it can inform what they do. And if they studied acting, then they know how to be on stage. So like all kinds of skills. Right, joking aside, I think some of the best fundraisers come from really diverse and wide-ranging experience. There isn't one single experience. Again, this is going to get me in trouble. We're going to get emails about this. I don't necessarily look at sales yet or marketing, right? Because yes, there are crossover. Like, we borrow from each other and use many of the same techniques and strategies, but sales and marketing and fundraising are different things. They are not the same, and they don't always translate well, right?
Clay, this has been unbelievable. I really appreciate the time that you've given. If folks wanted to get hold of you, how would they go about doing that?
Reach out on LinkedIn. I'm very engaged and respond on LinkedIn. You can also find me online at tcbfundraising.com and reach out to me that way. And I make the circuit. I'm at conferences and stuff. So if you happen to see me or want to cross me, just come say hi. But I'm always open for the conversation. Look forward to talking with folks. Yeah.
Wow. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, folks. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right here.